Yes. Okay, great. So what I'll do today is basically present a bit of a snapshot into the regional threat environment and also the evolution of criminal fintech. Asian organized crime groups are very much market leaders in this space. I'll also leave you with a couple of key takeaways, primarily with respect to the utility of illegal online gambling, the nexus with cybercrime, which is getting very concerning. So there's a couple of case studies there. Very quickly, what Infoblox does, we are a protective DNS solution, effectively a DNS layer firewall. We block a lot of malicious content from hitting enterprise and public networks. But we also have a very strong and accurate threat intelligence group upon which a lot of this research is based. Together with previously UNODC in East and Southeast Asia, we have a really big footprint there. Again, through which we developed this work. So I won't go into too much of the granular level detail here, but we block 82% of malicious threats in DNS before they are weaponized. We analyze a lot of data to get that solution configured. And so we basically map infrastructure, block at DNS, automate detection, and try our best to disrupt these criminal networks before they weaponize domains. Cybercrime and the sort of convergence with money laundering in the region, I look at it kind of broken down into these four pillars: illegal online gambling and criminal fintech. Illegal online gambling is not just a game. It is a point of least resistance, a DNFBP, a designated non-financial business and profession, that has been targeted aggressively over 3 decades, perfected by Asian criminal groups for moving money across borders undetected. Huge links to a diversity of different actors, from the region's largest drug traffickers, state-backed hackers, obviously these industrial-scale cyber-enabled fraud networks. It is a big problem and it's going to continue. At the same time, a key takeaway here is that the criminal groups involved in scam centers are evolving. They're becoming more sophisticated, they're reinvesting, and they're becoming more capable. The threat is growing, and we see that in the surge of malware-enabled fraud, some of which has been attributed to scam centers. That's the future direction of this threat. And of course, a lot of this is sort of backstopped by the proliferation of new illicit online marketplaces, entities like Huiwan, many of you will be familiar with. But this is very much the tip of the iceberg and a model that we see being recycled, unfortunately. Very quickly, so 3 decades of Asian organized crime in 30 seconds, probably more like 45 or less. But long story short, the cyber-enabled fraud situation in the region and the industry undoubtedly dwarfs the combined GDP of several countries in the region. It's a moneymaker, right? It's infiltrated local governance across the board. We can see that with so many cases. I won't name the countries. It is a big problem. Unregulated casinos, junkets, and online gambling platforms are clearly infiltrated by these networks and used to move money and launder into our jurisdictions. A lot of this, as you can see on the map, oh, sorry, I haven't moved the map, sorry. As you can see on the map, there's a lot of clusters that have been sort of cascading throughout the region. What initially began as a couple of touch points, the Sihanoukvilles, the Philippines of the region, or the Manilas of the region rather, have now expanded, and fundamentally, we see criminal groups taking over parts of the region. A lot of these territories are, of course, as you can see, located at key border territories, some of which are also run by militias. So there's an armed conflict nexus. It's very fascinating, but we won't get into that too much. Off of the illegal online gambling sort of industry that's proliferated in the region, we've seen these criminal groups become so well capitalized that they've been able to diversify into de facto financial institution provision. They've been able to establish their own MSBs, online payment providers, obviously VASPs, cryptocurrency exchanges, and also formal licensed banks and financial institutions. So this is, again, I don't use the word infiltration lightly, but this is the state of play at this point in time. I think we can see that through a lot of the recent law enforcement action. For instance, the Prince Group indictment last week was it? And hopefully law enforcement operations like that continue. With that said, there's hundreds of large operations, industrial scale cyber-enabled fraud compounds that remain active, operational, and are going to continue. Just very quickly, a couple of images for you to see how quickly this industry scales. You may be familiar with some of these pieces of imagery. These are some new ones, for instance, in Laos and south of KK Park, one of the largest and most infamous compounds. And this is what it looks like inside. Okay, so a mix of victims of human trafficking, but also increasingly voluntary participation because it is proving a viable source of income for people, many of which are young and disenfranchised. So casinos and crypto rather are the key underground banking and money laundering infrastructure enabling this criminal expansion. What do these compounds that I've put up have in common? These compounds are integrated with criminally controlled financial infrastructure, casinos, junkets, historically online gambling platforms that are used to commingle funds, obviously throw law enforcement off the trail of the provenance of those funds. And I think just to step back quickly, why online casinos? When I was taking these, when I was starting to explore this area 5 or 6 years ago, many officials on the other side of the table asked me, why do you guys care about this? It's just a game, right? And that's the beauty of this solution, is it seems like it's just a game. The fact of the matter is that online gambling and any adjacent industry, junkets, casinos, and so on, in an unregulated environment, represent high volume cash and crypto businesses operating all day long, all year long. They offer a lot of utility. They offer criminal proceeds storage. They offer credit issuance. They have multi-currency deposit and settlement provision, and represent vast informal value transfer mechanisms. At the same time, the industry in some regulated jurisdictions, for instance, in the Philippines, are targeted as legal, fiscal, and regulatory covers for diversified cybercrime operations. Oftentimes, we see the scam compounds integrated together with casinos just to, again, throw authorities off the trail. And so fundamentally, again, this is a growing, we're starting to see the growing impact, I think, across all of our jurisdictions with a lot of these, gray criminal investors who have really been very successful in getting their criminal proceeds and in some cases expanding operations into jurisdictions in Europe, in North America and elsewhere. So this is, I think, very rapidly becoming a key national security and financial integrity threat. So last couple of points here. Where are we heading? At this point, like I mentioned, I've been tracking these groups for a very long time together with my former office and my colleagues now at Infoblox. We have strong attribution to remote access Trojan deployments, a lot of different, more sophisticated and traditional cybercrime activity linked to these compounds. You can see that remote access Trojan in particular linked to 2 compounds in Cambodia and Laos. Deep fake software suites, emulators like this one here that you can see that allow to sort of centralize and streamline the chatting process, the sort of first phase of cyber-enabled fraud. And they're getting really sophisticated. The screenshot that you see of the woman with her face blurred, that's from a banking Trojan that was updated to bypass KYC measures by Thai and Vietnamese banks, Singaporean banks as well, and is actually capable of harvesting the biometric face scan of its victims. So in any case, it's getting worse. A lot of this is driven by crime as a service, cybercrime as a service, which is very much sort of a novel trend that we've been observing for the past few years in Southeast Asia. And again, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. The last thing on my slides here is a recent case study involving research we put out just last week. This is called Vault Viper. And again, it really speaks to the utility of the online gambling problem. Illegal online gambling, rather. So Vault Viper is a threat actor that represents one of Asia's largest online gambling software companies. It is very transparent. It's very out in the open. It's been operating for about 20 years. We were investigating them because of their servicing of a criminal group in Cambodia who was involved in cyber-enabled fraud, confirmed. Their backend, their infrastructure was serviced by this company called BBIN or Baoying Group. And they ran a custom browser, a Chrome-based browser that ultimately serves as a sneaky little surveillance tool capable of doing a lot of nasty stuff. It looks just like Google Chrome. And again, it's been installed on more than 1 million devices and pushed on unsuspecting users. And again, just provides a great example of the utility that illegal online gambling can offer criminal groups who are basically able to do anything they want. For the sake of time, I won't expand more into that. I'll hand it to my colleagues. The last little point I wanted to mention here was that there's direct connections to scam centers. There's huge partnerships with some of the biggest football clubs in the world. And as always with Asian organized crime, things tend to point back to this gentleman named Alvin Chow, who is China's most prolific money launderer. So that's it for me. I'll hand it back to my colleagues. Thank you.
John, thank you very much. That was quite impressive, but also quite concerning. I think a lot of those outside Southeast Asia, we are not aware on what's going on. So it's really important to raise awareness and to address these kind of things.